Hello, welcome to week 25 of Beloved Blackness. I'm Dr. B. So, the past few weeks we've been discussing this notion of culture and the layers of culture that Dr. Wade Nobles describes, with the upper layer being manifestations, the middle layer aspects, and the lower layer or the deepest layer of culture as factors. And so we're on manifestations, and one area of manifestations are behaviors. So today I want to talk about the behavior of what folks in the Black community call CP time. So traditionally, CP time has been known as colored people's time. And colored people's time meaning if an event starts at noon, we may show up or roll up around 12:30, 12:15, sometimes 1. And depending on if you see time as linear, or as something that can be possessed or that you get to have domination of or over, then it could be perceived as disrespectful to show up after the appointed hour. However, if you see time and your relationship with time as a manifestation of your cultural worldview or cultural essence, then you could actually see arriving at 12:15 or 12:30 as something different. And so I can't remember which scholar it was. I remember reading one time an article where they said CP time stood for Communal Potential Time. And so I think that really captures it. And so if you have a worldview where the experience gets to, I don't want to say dictate, but the experience impacts, influences your relationship with time, not you are imposing time upon your experiences, then there's more of a fluidity where the lateness isn't about disrespect to the person who's throwing the event, but that the timing in which you arrived is the time in which your life events and the flow and the rhythm of your life allow for that time to happen, and that the people who are expecting you, who also flow in communal potential time, don't experience it as something egregious, that you just flow in and then you flow with the conversation or flow in with whatever's happening at that time. And so obviously we live in a society where time is treated in a very linear way, and we have things we have to get done and those sorts of things to be on time. So I'm not saying don't be on time for things that are important, but when it comes to our social context where we can allow more flow in our cultural selves to be expressed, allowing yourself to have a little bit more fluidity and respecting that when you are in the moment with people, that experience, those relationships, remember the axiology, member, person to person, or member to member, is what's important within the African-centered axiology. And so if our cosmology is one in which there's interrelatedness, then the interrelatedness of the experience is primary over did you get there on the dot when the event was supposed to start. And that starting is kind of a false concept too. And so there's many ways in which we have to decolonize this idea of time and our relationship with time. And communal potential is another way, as opposed to being disparaging, like, oh yeah, she always operating on CP time, that we can actually have a more open-minded and understanding and maybe even welcoming view of what CP time means in a more communal potential way of being. Let's see what can develop out of our connections with one another, how we commune with one another, as opposed to the time being, our response to time being forced upon us or feeling as if we have to fit within a particular worldview that doesn't match our cultural essence. All right, so that's one idea about behavior. So we'll talk next week. Maybe we're going to go back to another ritual next week. I'm trying to decide between a couple of different ideas, but we'll be in a different location, and that's will be just a surprise to you to see where we'll be next week. All right, so again, communal potential time as an expression of behavior through an African-centered lens. Think this week over maybe how you have a relationship with time, or what your relationship with time is, and maybe what's your relationship with time in terms of your family members, and ways in which that may differ and ways in which it may be similar. And I'm not just talking about your immediate family, but even your extended family. All right.